For many of us, the month of June signifies the kickoff of summer, no more school, warmer weather, graduation parties, and now, Gay Pride Month. Truth be told, Gay Pride Month has been a thing longer than I have been walking this planet. But recently, in the last few years, more and more parents are struggling with it, and that's definitely been clear yet again this year, as June is right around the corner. Whether you're listening to this episode as you are unloading the dishwasher, maybe cleaning up the kids' toy room, or you're getting ready for a busy day with the family, this episode is going to be one to help you digest your thoughts on Gay Pride Month so that you can head into June feeling more confident about what your feelings are and what you can do about them. Hi, I'm Jenna Dix, and I'm always rambling. Just ask my husband. I have a great family and a pretty cool life, but I'm a recovered alcoholic. That's hard to say, but my goal is to inspire and educate to help others hopefully find life beyond an addiction. I'm all things: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Getting healthy, momming, and politics. Get offended easily? You better stop listening. There is no point in wasting that Botox by stressing yourself out listening to a podcast. Welcome to Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Today's episode brought to you by products and services that I'm thoroughly addicted to. Are you tired of the same old meals and want to try something new in the kitchen? Look no further than Bridgett Stockwell, an independent Pampered chef consultant. With Bridgett's help, you can upgrade your kitchen tools, discover delicious new recipes, and learn cooking techniques to make mealtime easier and more enjoyable for you and your family. Whether you're a busy mom, a cooking enthusiast, or a brand new person heading into the kitchen, Bridgett can help you create healthy and delicious meals that your family will love. Contact Bridgett Stockwell today to get started on your culinary journey. Her details are in the show notes. Happy cooking! Hey, I want to thank you so much for tuning into today's episode, spending your time with me, being willing to not only listen, but hopefully learn from what we're going to be chatting about today. So as you heard in the intro, today we're going to be talking about Gay Pride Month. If you have headed into Target at all in the last week, which I think a lot of moms probably have, if you're like our family, we have to head to some type of store probably at least every other day. And Target pretty much hits that list, 2 to 3 times per week. Some families are probably a little more organized than ours, but if you've headed into a Target at all, right in the front entryway, there is no denying the fact that, Gay Pride Month is right around the corner. So today I wanted to talk about it a little bit because I think a lot of moms, a lot of parents, a lot of families are sitting there and they're like, holy cow, I don't even know how to fully digest my own thoughts on this, let alone what to say to my kids when they're asking questions, which I think as the displays, such as Targets, are getting bigger and bigger and bigger every year, kids are starting to ask questions. And as the parent on the other end, sometimes it's like, oh, I didn't fully think this out yet. What am I going to say? So today we're going to talk about all those things. I have some solid facts about gay pride in itself. I have some opinions from fellow moms. So this isn't just, Jenna spew her thoughts at you. Obviously, you're listening to my podcast and I'm a pretty solid rambler, so you're going to get some of my thoughts. But I did talk to a few other moms as well to get their opinions, get their thoughts, get their curiosities, get their, hesitancies, different opinions from them. Because I think that's important because all of us as moms, if you're listening to my podcast and we're almost 30 episodes in, more than likely we think somewhat similar. You wouldn't still be listening. But we still all have points where we're like, ooh, our thoughts are a little different. So I wanted to get some different perspectives. So like I said, some facts, mom opinions. We're going to be talking about the biblical perspective of this as well. I think that's important because we need that grounding. We need to understand, what is God's perspective on this? How can we put that into play in today's times? And then in addition, of course, it wouldn't be a podcast by Jenna Dix if we didn't talk about some tips and strategies, some practical things we can really start to put into play to navigate this as a family, hopefully to help bring you a little bit more peace. So if this is something you've talked about with, a girlfriend or maybe some moms in a mom's group, something of that sort, share this episode with them. Maybe they'll grab a nugget that you didn't grab, or, maybe I'm going to hit on something that you guys talked about and you're like, oh my goodness, let's double down on that thought. She talks about this too, So feel free to share this with fellow moms, fellow parents. Obviously, we speak to the moms a little bit more on the forefront here, but, I think a lot of these messages, are important for dads to hear and understand as well. So we're going to dive right in. So talking a little bit more about the facts of gay pride. So in the intro, I said, gay pride's been a thing. June being the gay pride month has been a thing for a long time, longer than I've been alive. And, I was born in 1986. So the first official-ish gay pride was in 1970. It was in response to some riots that had happened the previous year. I think it was regarding, I think they were called the Stonewall riots. Don't 100% quote me on that, but those happened the year before. So 1970, they did these events around the country in different locations to kind of honor the riots, which those were in response to some things that had happened with the LGBTQ community. So at that point, some activist groups started to pop up, some things of that sort, and it just grew from there. Here in Minnesota, we have a huge gay pride festival in June. I myself have actually attended once, and some of your jaws may have just hit the floor. Wait a minute, aren't you a Republican? Don't you not like that stuff? Yeah, I'll tell you more about my personal piece with it in a little bit here, but the Minnesota Gay Pride Festival is rather large, and it's actually one of the oldest ones in the country. Ours started here in 1972, so it's been around, again, longer than I've been on this planet. Probably longer than some of you listeners have been on this planet. Companies, big companies, have been getting involved in this movement for years as well. On the forefront, some of the first steps companies were taking were more on policy. And, we stand behind you. We're going to honor our LGBTQ community members that are employees here by making sure, we're giving them health care, that we're honoring their partnerships, things of that sort. Or we're going to donate money to activist groups. That was kind of the first steps companies started to take. Some of those companies were, IBM, Ben & Jerry's Ice Cream, which if you've followed Ben & Jerry's, they are no stranger to getting involved in the activist piece of society, and typically more on the liberal, more left-leaning side of things as well. But yeah, so more on the policy side. Those were kind of the first steps. I saw Levi's. They were also one of the first companies to get involved. And then from what I saw, and, I did a couple of solid hours of research, but I'm sure, I can't even lie. There were so many options that I could have dove into. It could have been a wormhole that I went down for days. I need to be mindful of my time because I do have children. But I did want to do some research. And what I found for the first company, one of the first big, we are supporting Pride Month steps that a company took was in 2008, Google changed their logo to a rainbow one. So, and it probably exactly what I'm talking about. When you go to the Google homepage, if it's a holiday of some sort, the Google homepage will reflect that in some way, whether, I don't know why, but the first one that pops to mind is when Betty White died. It had like the rose petals and it just symbolized her, right? Or Valentine's Day, sometimes it'll have hearts, things of that sort to really honor the holiday. So in 2008, they let that homepage reflect Gay Pride Month by having it rainbowed. Target, one of, right now, in society, from what people are seeing, is like, holy cow, that's definitely a corporate stand for sure, saying we stand behind Gay Pride Month. Target actually, so they've had some things that they've sold for a while, but like the first big public stance I guess they took for Gay Pride was only several years ago. So roughly a little shy than a decade ago. So not too long, but they're definitely on the forefront now of, hell yeah, we promote and we stand for and we are there supporting Gay Pride Month. There's no denying that. So those were just a couple of the facts that I wanted to share with you because I think it's important before we dive into any topic that we have somewhat of an understanding of what we're focusing on, right? I did have some of those facts prior to because I have some, I have a family member that identifies within the LGBTQ plus community. I've had friends, so I did know a little bit. And like I said, I've attended the Twin Cities. I think it's called Twin Cities Gay Pride Festival, but it's in Minneapolis. At least the portions that I attended. I attended it with some friends. I attended it. I spent some time there with my family member. So definitely had a little bit of an understanding, but it was interesting to do some research and, oh, wow, it's been around for a really freaking long time. People have been taking stands with this for a really long time. But like I've already mentioned, there's no denying the fact that, holy crap, it's gotten huge. It's gotten huge, the fact that it's every which way you seem to turn in June now. And now, even earlier, right? I think Target's Gay Pride collection, their area, popped out a little over a week ago, I'm pretty sure at this point. Today is May 19th. So towards the beginning of May. So essentially, we are talking now that Target is going to have a dedicated space for that for close to, if not over, 2 months. So not only is it Gay Pride Month, it's actually Gay Pride Month plus some, right? So you can, buy all you need to before. And I don't think this is outside the norm of Target in the aspect of they set up for shit really early. I mean, you see Christmas stuff at Target typically right around Halloween. So, they set stuff up early. So I get that. But we're going to talk a little bit about, feelings on that from parents. And I'm going to dive right into that because, like I said, if you pop into this, you're going to get an opinion all the time. It's my ramblings I'm going to share. But this is something that a lot of parents have been talking about and like, wow, I just don't fully know how I feel about that. I don't know what I'm supposed to think. I don't know what I'm supposed to say to my kids because there's no hiding it anymore from our kids. And not even necessarily that we wanted to hide it, but sometimes it's like, dude, I just wasn't ready to share that with my children yet because they're very small, right? So I chatted with 3 separate moms. All of them have kids at different ages. All of them, all the ones I talked to actually have multiple children as well. So the first one I talked to, she is from my local community here. She has 2 children, both under the age of 4, so not in school yet. And this particular mom is actually planning on homeschooling, so that won't even really be a thing anyway. But we were just chatting and I grabbed some snippets of our conversation that I really wanted to share because I was like, damn, that holds some weight. And she said, I've just really been worried about having to take my kids into public spaces. My daughter looks around and she wonders, why are there rainbows all over the place? Because there's no denying that the kids are going to see the rainbows. Her eyes are immediately going to be attracted to these rainbows because they're rainbows and they're pretty and they think they're cool. And now I'm sitting here contemplating, how will I explain them to her? Do I say, the rainbows are God's promise, and a lot of lost people are wearing those rainbows right now because they need God's guidance. I truthfully don't know how I will handle it, because I know she's going to notice these rainbows because they are beautiful. They are from God. And in addition, this mom said, it's really sad because in the month of May, one of my daughters celebrates her birthday, and it's my own birthday. And yet I have found myself in the recent few days thinking, I just kind of want to skip the whole damn month, which saying that is so extremely depressing. And some people may now be sitting there and well, that girl's dramatic. That mom is crazy over the top. All right, if that's what you feel, okay. But this is that mom's feelings, and they're completely valid to say. She's worried about, like I said, those kids are under 4. So how is she going to explain it to a child under 4 who doesn't have the full brain capacity to understand a lot of that yet? And I do feel she is right in the aspect of, dude, my daughter, if she sees a rainbow, she's singing the song, red, orange, yellow, blue. And I just totally slaughtered that song. Didn't even get the colors in order. But she'll bust into that song when she sees a rainbow. So I do agree that more than likely her daughter will see the rainbows and ask her, Mommy, what's that for? And sometimes, especially if you're listening to this as a hater or like a tracker of sorts, like you're sitting there and you're thinking, well, aren't you a bitch, Jenna? Just say what it's for. Well, some people aren't ready to say that to their kids yet. They don't need to explain sexuality to their children yet. Right? All right. Busting into the second mom. Her snidbits that she shared with me. And she has 2 children, and one is a toddler. One is very early elementary, and she attends a public school. So this mom, she said, what I've been extremely concerned about is what the school is going to do. They haven't really advertised anything yet regarding Gay Pride Month, but that doesn't mean anything. Individual teachers could mention it or do something about it. And this mom said, so thinking about her daughter, she said, I will talk to her about it briefly so that she has an understanding about people that live that certain lifestyle. More of kind of a heads up of, hey, if you see this around, this is why. So this specific mom very much focused on schools, which I think is a fair concern right now. The amount of, even just in our school district here, LGBTQ signs already just on a normal month, the rest of the months of the school year. And then you head into June, which granted, June is a short month for the schools here. Some schools, depending on where you are in the U.S., they don't even have school in June. Up here in Minnesota, we do for roughly like a week and a half. So it's kind of, are the teachers going to spend time decorating for it? Some of them, they could, absolutely, because it's kind of their hill, right? They want to die on that hill, so they're going to make sure they deck it out. Others, may not decorate, but they may bring it up. So I think it's fair for her to be a little concerned, hey, the school really hasn't said anything, but, well, the schools haven't really said a lot about a lot of things, and yet here they are talking about them despite not bringing things up to parents. So yeah, she wants to take more of that proactive opinion. She's going to talk to her daughter a little bit, share some things. And I know this mom personally, and she has no holdbacks in the aspect of she tells her daughter, this is God's opinion on this. That's her approach with it. I fully respect that. Some people may be like, wow, that's pretty intense for a little kid. All right, that's your thought. Others might think, well, guess what? Telling that same kid about, homosexuality or bisexuals or transgenders, that's pretty intense, right? So I'm going to jump into the third one here. This one, she has children ranging from preschool all the way up into school aged. She has 4 children. She has made the decision to her school-aged children now go to private school. She pulled from the public school recently, we actually, we've met through a variety of sources, but one source that we really connected on was kind of on our activist fights with the school. Not fights, but like conversations that we're working out with the school, things of that sort. Her and I worked together a little bit to get some answers from the school regarding COVID funding and where it was going, things like that. So she kind of went a different way with these thoughts, talking more about just the overall general topic of LGBTQ and how it's affecting her family. And then I actually just literally, as I was like popping in here to record, she was shooting me some text messages that I'll kind of just spew out at the end. Because they were just honestly humorous, number one to me, but number two, like, oh, holy cow. Okay, wait a minute, Jenna. So she first off was like, my first thought automatically with this topic goes to transgender acceptance. To me, whatever. I'm not against it. But what I'm against is children making surgery decisions without parental consent. That is not a place for government to make decisions. This is between a child and a parent, and having real conversations together so that the child has the full understanding of every possible effect, whether it's good or bad. And I think this is definitely motivated by, if you have followed the Minnesota legislator this year, I've talked about it on the podcast already as well. Minnesota legislator just put through, bills saying that, it's been kind of deemed the kidnap bill, but, that kids can come to Minnesota under the age of 18, no parental consent. Parents don't have to know at all. If parents disagree, they can actually be pulled from the parents. And they can go through transgender changes. So hormone surgeries, things of that sort, without parents being like, I stamped this approved, And I get, yes, you're going to throw that 1% of cases, if hell, it's probably under 1%. Well, what about, okay, but for the overall, right? It is a real bummer that right now parents have lost so much control over keeping their children safe in that regard. Her second thought. So she said, I personally feel that schools should not glorify Pride Month. They just are keeping a handful of people satisfied. I don't agree with changing information talked about during sex ed, for example, to cover all areas and all books, including information about gay sex. I feel maybe they should offer a special class for those people who are outside the normal, so wanting information about homosexual sex. Truth is, sometimes it sucks to be different, and there are repercussions to those choices. My kids do not need to be educated on that, and if it doesn't affect them, the kids can ask their parent if they have questions. When this stuff comes up in the school, my kids are like, WTF. So that portion right there, as somebody in politics who wants to do the word dance, right? Let me be cautious and tiptoe around a little bit. My brain immediately goes one way. My feelings go another. I see where she's coming from. 1,000%. I agree. That portion of sometimes when you choose to be different than other people, there's consequences to that. And not even necessarily bad consequences, right? Dude, if you want to learn about homosexual sex, you can go learn about that in another room. Some of my very conservative parents, myself included to a point, I think a lot of sex ed shit at school anyway is over the top. A lot of that shit should be learned at home, period. Right? I think the fact that schools are normalizing sex so flipping much, not cool. My mom taught me about sex when I was very young because I asked very in-depth questions because I was a very inquisitive child. So I learned about sex before we learned about it in school anyway, but I learned about it from my mom. And I do understand that there might be parents out there not teaching their children. So I get there is a finicky dance that has to happen with this topic. But the fact that schools take it so fucking far, it's not okay. You are teaching stuff to children that they probably shouldn't have to be learning, period. Number two, they sure as hell shouldn't be learning about it in a public setting with that many people around. It's just, it's an icky thing. And I get it's not an easy thing to sort out, figure out. Truth be told, I mean, yes, I'm in the political world. I'm in the political spaces of sorts. I'm not in that spot where I have to make those legislative decisions. At least, maybe someday. I honestly don't know where God's going to bring me in the political space, but right now I get that it's difficult. But the fact that they're shoving homosexual sex education on so many children right now, I completely agree with this mother. And then the last thing that she said to me was, this all makes me have a different feeling towards that community. I did not care before, but now I have to care because it's just obvious. And it's gone way too far because it does change the public school system drastically. And that's the last place I now want my child. So that's why right there, right? That mom, I told you, she pulled her kids from the schools. This being one of those reasons. And that kickoff of that last statement there, it changes how I feel about the community. I think a lot of people have said that, myself included. Like I said, I went to the Gay Pride Festival here. I don't think you'd catch me there for $1 million right now because I'm so frustrated with everything going on. It's really hard to support it when it's like, okay, I was supporting and now you're still screaming, we're not supporting you. And now you're shoving it in every nook and cranny of the world that you can. That is how a lot of parents, myself included, are starting to feel. And so this mom, when we were talking about this yesterday, I haven't been to Target yet, so I haven't seen anything at Target, because I said, what are your thoughts about stores? she hadn't been to Target yet. She just texted me as I was walking in here. Yep, I had to make the Target run, and holy cow, it's everywhere in the front of the store. I'm like, yep. So, there's no missing it. If you're going to Target right now, you know what's going on, right? You know that Gay Pride Month is right around the corner. All right, so a little bit of a mix of opinions. Not a mix of opinions. I mean, very much, similar undertones, but some mixed perspectives on areas of this whole dealio. So, I think the mix of feelings is something that so many parents are feeling. And a lot of parents not digging, the public displays because it's forcing conversations that parents may not be ready for, the children mentally may not be ready for, and they may be too young. I saw an influencer on Instagram. She's very conservative. She's very over the top with her social media. It's humorous. Like I follow her. I like it, I would probably not go as far as she takes it sometimes, but I don't know, maybe. She called the customer service line at Target and was like, can somebody get on the line and explain sex to my children? That's kind of what it's like. Like, you walk into Target right now, and sometimes you're now walking into a sexual conversation of sorts with your kids, unless you completely just want to be like, oh, don't look over there, or I'm going to lie about this, right? Multiple pieces in those comments from those moms, not digging that the push is now coming in schools, fearing potentially, oh, shoot, I don't know exactly what's going to be pushed. Because they're not saying what they're going to do. They're saying, we've seen nothing, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to do it. But end of the day, the truth is, from each one of those perspectives, from the little bits I've shared already, I'm sure from the feelings in your heart, there's no denying the fact that this is impacting our kids. And I think, at least for me, my opinion, is one of the biggest sticky points with all of it. is the age appropriate piece of it all has gone out the window. You know, like that third mom said, I keep almost wanting to say their names. Like that third mom said, it's hard to support it now, right? Before, it was kind of like, whatever. I went as far as like supporting going to their festival. And now, like, there's days I want to walk into Target and like flick off the display. I don't. Like, that's not good public etiquette. You don't want to act like that. That's not something good to show your children either. But it's maddening. It's everywhere. And like I said, a lot of times not age appropriate. And this I do feel, I'm not going to pin that 1,000% just on Gay Pride Month or the LGBTQ community. Age appropriate has kind of gone out the window for a lot of things. There's shit that I see that is totally, just normal merchandise or normal books or normal things that somebody could buy or look at or find. And you're like, that's so inappropriate. But there's definitely a very heavy push within the LGBTQ community. They've definitely been pushing it much further and farther. And I even think back to when I went to Gay Pride. So it was a festival that took up at the time when I went, which was 2016. So 7 years ago. It took up 2 roads. The first road, and each road had vendors, essentially. Kind of like, envision like a craft fair or like a city festival thing, right? In the first road, it had all the little vendors, and I mean, anything from like, I think XL Energy was there. There was, why can't I think right now? Like animal shelter things. There was a pit bull rescue. There was, Avon. There was, tons of different vendors. And there were children there walking around with their parents. And then there was another road that kind of teed this first road, like intersected it. And I don't remember how it was barricaded, but I do remember that was the 18 plus road. So only adults could go down there. You had to be 18 or over to go down that road. And this is in the middle of the day. So could kids have peered down the road and seen stuff? Probably. More than likely, but they couldn't walk up to these vendors. They couldn't get any of their stuff that they had. But that was more like I can't even remember everything down the road. Both roads were rather long. But I remember there was it was more like the kinky stuff, like the fetishes, like adults dressed up as babies, which is fucking weird, but the furries, the people dressed up like that Biden guy that stole all the suitcases that would dress up like the leather dogs, just all that weird, quirky stuff that people are kind of like, ooh, that's interesting. Holy moly, right? But 18 plus. And now you can see that shit all over the internet. Some of which parents have proven the algorithms are feeding to their children. So groups like, what is it called? Gays Against Groomers has recently popped up. These are LGBTQ community members who are saying, holy cow, hold the phone. We're leaning into something that we should not be leaning into. We are pushing stuff on children. We are essentially grooming children. Not okay. And I definitely feel that way. And there's no denying it that, you look around and you're like, well, it kind of does definitely seem that way when things that are really geared towards kids are now forcing these thoughts. So much as Kellogg's cereal, right? So think like Tony the Tiger or the Toucan with Fruit Loops or, trying to think. Snap, Crackle, Pop, like the Frosted Mini Wheats. They have made a cereal this year with all those characters from those other boxes on it. And the cereal is called Together with Pride cereal. And this is being sold in grocery stores. And you know what I didn't look at? I didn't look at what the actual cereal itself was. I looked at the box. I looked at all the characters. I looked at the specifics of where the money was going, what it was for, that kind of stuff. But I didn't look at what the actual kernels or pieces of cereal look like. But if you purchase a box of this cereal, $3 will go to GLAAD, GLAAD, which is a group that supports the LGBTQ community. And they're going to donate up to $140,000. And this is in the regular grocery aisle, which I don't know about you, but I remember being a kid, one of my favorite aisles was a cereal aisle. I loved the cereal aisle. Got to run down, pick out a few boxes. I remember when we were on stricter budgets, I had to do the whole like walk on my knees thing, right? Like that guy in the commercial did, and buy the generic bags. But cereal boxes are something very enticing to children. So this definitely is going to catch the eye of kids. No doubt. Another one that came out with this year, Care Bears. You know, the old school show. My daughter loves Care Bears. She has a purple one. Her sister, our 15-year-old, has a pink one. Both Care Bears are in McKenna's room, the little one's room, because she fucking loves Care Bears. She steals her big sister's pink Care Bear all the time. Right now, they're both sitting on McKenna's bed. I know that for a fact. I saw them this morning. So Care Bears, another thing that kids definitely are going to notice. They created a stuffed bear this year. It's called the Togetherness Bear. Rainbow fur, rainbow hair. It's got a heart on its belly. You remember how they have like the gems or the designs on their belly that kind of are like make them what they are. They have a heart one on this one, and it's a rainbow heart. So another thing very much going to catch the eye of a child. And then you have to, Mommy, why is it called the Togetherness Bear? And then you get to make the decision now of, shit, what do I say? Right? The third thing I noticed, another thing that came out this year, is Legos is coming out with different sets to support the community. They are saying, and I give them props for this piece, 18 and up. All right. The problem is, again, Legos. Who looks at Legos? Children. And granted, I do know, like I give Legos not a pass, but like I get it that, you know, they do make sets for adults, Star Wars, things like that, things that are very difficult to set up that a child is definitely going to struggle to set up. But overall, a lot of the Lego sets, kids are going to look. You know, Target, they definitely have their stuff there for adults, but they have stuff. I mean, there's no hiding. I mean, they have onesies this year. And they have baby books this year. It's just, holy cow. And like I said, this is not something that is just purely their community. The whole community, the entire world community, we have all seen things that, wow, that is so not age appropriate for a child. And yet you can clearly see it's being marketed towards a child. But this one specifically is like, it's getting more and more and more frequent. And it's not even they come out with almost this cockiness of, well, we're a protected community, we're a protected class, pretty much F you, we're going to do what we want. Where, you know, I can remember a time where, yes, there were inappropriate age things made, or there was I don't even want to say age things. I want to say there was inappropriate stuff made. And even as a child, if I got curious, and I want to say I was a teenager because I didn't have the brain capacity to figure it out before then. If you wanted to see things that were kind of like on the more naughty side of things, you knew where to go. Like, I'm going to go to the mall and walk through Spencer's, or I'm going to go to the mall and walk through Hot Topic, or you made those decisions. You knew where to look for those things. But yet now, these types of things, you don't even need to, you can walk through the fucking front of Target and you see it. And it's, I don't even know. My heart just gets so amped up. My brain gets so amped up because it's so frustrating to think, and it's just attacking at our children. And I am grateful for the groups such as Gays Against Groomers who are standing up and saying, hold the phone. Children do not need to be the target of our messaging. Children should not be the target of our messaging. Period. All right. So, as I said in the introduction, I think what we need to do as solid Christians, as we are leaning into all of this, we need to remember our Bible needs to be our grounding. Our Bible needs to be where we can rest our thoughts and find some peace. Our youth pastor once told our family, the Bible needs to be where we're getting our right and wrong. Hell yeah, it does. Because right now, where else do we get it in the community? Right now, we could go out and get a pass for absolutely everything. Absolutely everything. So I pulled a couple verses that I'd actually had highlighted in my Bible previously. As I said, I have a family member that is in the LGBTQ community, and when I've read through my Bible and stuff, I have flagged some different passages in the past, just keeping some thoughts in my own mind as I create my boundaries for my own healthy life, right? But I also did talk to my spiritual mentor who gave me an amazing passage that I really reflected on when it came to, I told her I was planning on doing this podcast. I was like, do you have any advice, Bible-wise, that I can lean into and pray on and think about as I'm going into doing this podcast? So she gave me a couple ideas as well. So I think the first one, because we sit and we think, well, crap, I know what God has said, right? I know God's thoughts. And just to kind of reinforce that, check out Leviticus 18, verse 22. Do not practice homosexuality, having sex with another man as with a woman. It is a detestable sin. Black and white. God put it in black and white. And I think immediately right away, my brain just goes to one of our representatives here in Minnesota, Representative Lee Finke, saying, no matter what your parents say, whatever your pastor says, they're wrong. God agrees with me. This passage right here, it tells me otherwise. God doesn't lie. It is a sin. Period. Literally, there is a period at the end of that sentence. Another couple I wanted to talk about. Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. All right, Jenna, why would you tell me that, right? Because it's so easy in today's society, I think, to be like, it's everywhere. If I don't agree with all this, I'm a homophobic. I'm a transphobic. I'm a bigot. I'm an asshole. Okay, I get it. I hear it. I'm publicly labeled a Republican, which we are all then, by many out there right now, labeled bigot. transphobe, homophobe. I've been called that plenty of times on social media already. I'm not. I know that in my heart. I wouldn't have, and truth be told, I've questioned now, should I have gone to gay pride to support my family member? I think I did what was right in my heart at the time. Trying to honor my family member and love them. But at the same time, do not be overcome by the evil. Do not let that take you over. You need to overcome the evil with good. And our good as Christians is God. It is the light. We need to spread Jesus. And, with that family member, for example, I set down a hard boundary. We don't talk really right now at all. I do pray every day, and I hope that our connection does come back. But I did finally have to get to a point where, what you're living is a sin. And I pray for you, and I pray that one day Jesus comes into your heart and you can truly repent how you're living. And that was fucking hard. It was hard. And there's still other people in my life that, we haven't talked as much, and I have a feeling it's because I made that decision with this certain family member, and they live similar ways, and it's not that I don't love those people. I still love those people so much. And I just have to pray that the goodness will overcome. That things will mend and we'll all be at peace. And they can repent and they will spend eternity with me in heaven. Because I pray every day that's where I'm going, right? All right. And the last one is, this is the section that my mentor actually shared with me this week. And we kind of go a different way with this a little bit. She sent it to me and we were talking about it, and I'm like, wow, this is, my husband and I were talking about it, and I was thinking, this is not where my brain would have gone. I would not have pulled this passage. But the more I thought about it, it does fit. Philippians 2. So I'm going to read verses 1 through 11. So it's a little bit longer, so bear with me. Turn me on 2 times speed if you need to. So if there is any encouragement in Christ, any comfort from love, any participation in the Spirit, any affection and sympathy, complete my joy by being of the same mind, having the same love, being in full accord and of one mind. Do nothing from selfish ambition or conceit, but in humility count others more significant than yourselves. Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interest of others. Have this mind among yourselves, which is yours in Christ Jesus, who thought he was in the form of God, did not count equality with God a thing to be grasped, but emptied himself by the taking the form of a servant, be born in the likeness of men, and being found in human form, being humbled himself by becoming obedient to the point of death, even death on a cross. Therefore God has highly exalted him and bestowed on him the name that is above every name, so that in the name of Jesus every knee should bow in heaven and on earth and under the earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, to the glory of God the Father. And you may be sitting there and thinking, what are you talking about, Jenna? How does that fit? So essentially, we need to walk humbly. We need to walk towards others. We need to forget sometimes our own urges, our own wants, and ensure that we are coming together and focusing on others more than we focus on us. I think this as a whole, us as Christians, right? We need to forget our own wants, our own urges, and make sure that we're supporting the community, sharing that light, sharing Jesus. Sometimes it's easy to want to focus on, well, I got to work and I got to do this and I got to do that. And no, I'm not going to go share Jesus today because I got to do my stuff. I think that's layer 1. Layer 2, my brain really was reflecting on this podcast, this theme, this thought, the LGBTQ community. And I want to be cautious not to throw this over them all. Because, just like I've said this in many other podcasts, in every group, there's going to be good and there's going to be bad. There's bad teachers, there's bad cops, there's bad construction workers, there's bad doctors. I'm sure there's people in that community, LGBTQ community, that are bad in many different ways. But I do feel right now, a lot of them, they are selfish. Their ambition is focusing on what's best for all of them. I don't give a shit about the other communities. I don't give a shit if this stuff impacts children in a negative way. I want others to see me. I want others to see our ways. I want others to recognize and appreciate and honor when, wait a minute, please think about that 3-year-old that doesn't need to know what homosexuality is. They don't need to know what heterosexual is. They don't need to know what sex is. They don't need to know what a relationship is. They don't care. They want to play in a fucking sandbox. Right? We need to be obedient to our Father. Period. Jesus, God came and walked on our earth. He could have walked the earth as an amazing ruler, humbled himself down to a man that lived a horrible death for all of us. Talk about not selfish. We need to honor that. We need to be obedient to that. We need to follow the Bible for that. And if we don't follow the Bible and we sin, which we all do the math. My daughter is 3.5. I have been married for 2.5 years. I sinned, clearly. I've repented that. But we need to get to a point where we repent the sin. We say, yes, it's a fucking sin because I'm a sinner. With that, though, I truly do believe comes peace. That is where peace comes from. It's more clear, black and white, good, evil. Yeah, it's hard to accept that. But life's not supposed to be easy, number one. We're not supposed to live this comfy, cozy, lazy boy, kick back, relax type of life. It's not going to be cush. It's not going to be, the ultimate comfort the whole time you're here. And with that, I'm going to just jump right into the steps because I'm already transitioning there. So number one, we need to know the Bible. Steps on what can we do about all this? And I think this first step, this is applicable to everything going on in the world right now. But as we head into Gay Pride Month, and you're thinking, what am I going to do? What am I supposed to tell my kids? Use the Bible as your grounding. Whether your kids are old enough to understand, teach them. Talk to them about Leviticus 18:22. But Jenna, that's pretty harsh. Well, one of my favorite podcasters out there, she always says, we don't need to soften God's word. God is loving. The fact that he walked the earth, died a brutal death for all of our sins, There's no doubt. Incredibly loving. But we also need to make sure that, yeah, we follow those rules because those are his boundaries for us. Just like as parents, your kids probably think you're an asshole sometimes, right? I know we've had this conversation with both our girls plenty. I know this seems harsh. I know it seems hard. Sometimes love is hard because we are wanting to set you up for what's best for you. And that is what God is doing. That is why it was hard to tell my family member, you need to repent because yes, you are living a sin. It was really hard. I lost a really close family member as of right now, but I know I did what I needed to for God. And I pray every day. But I know in the end, it was hopefully setting that individual up for success in the long term, being in the ultimate peace with God, being in the eternal with God. All right, step number 2. If you are a person and you're like, I have a lot of strong opinions on this. I really want to, I want to kind of take my stand. I hear you. You're far from alone. Then we need to spend our money according to our values as much as we can. This is hard. When we're talking Target, yes, the big red ball in the front of the store where we get our Starbucks and we spend more money than we should and we walk all the aisles just because we're there. Target, mom's relaxation spot, right? We need to try. In that, I will be very transparent. Does that mean I'm not going to go to Target anymore? Probably not. We have 2 in Woodbury where we're at. And I don't know where else I'd really go. But I can tell you this. We do try to shift a lot of the products that we purchase to other places that I know have better values that are aligned with ours. And I'm constantly and continuing to look for companies and services that fit that niche. Okay? So, for example, like all of our soaps and our cleaning products and a lot of even like our health nutritional products, things of that sort, I get from an online company that is 100% aligned with the values that we hold here as a family. We just shifted actually our meat products to that same online company. We are really trying to find as many outlets to go through versus just, my husband will joke, oh, the woke whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, oh, here's my woke body wash. That's what he used to say about one of his body washes. Which I'm not, I'm like, Harry's, right? Harry's? And y'all are like, oh yeah. Because they were a product that started really supporting, trans people. And he's like, I'm done. Right? So, not going to be easy. Try to find those outlets. If you want, reach out to me. I can share that online store that I shop at where I get, like I said, all our cleaning stuff. I get my body washes, our hand soaps, a lot of our health nutritionals. I need to venture, especially now, I need to venture into their cosmetics. I love the cosmetics I get, but I can tell you this. I'm not loving the values that Ulta and Sephora are shoving down our throats. So I need to honor my values, right? I'm putting it out there publicly. If you have not yet checked out, if you're like, oh, I hear you, Jenna, but I don't even know where to go. Like what stores? Public Square, Public SQ, something of that sort. And I've heard about this multiple times. I should know this more. I've actually been told I should put my own healthcare company on this app. I need to do it. But it is an app that is all conservative-minded companies and services. So maybe check them out. Look at their values. Look at what they're talking about. And I know this is a solid thing because they actually talk about this Public SQ or Public Square, whatever it's called, on a few of my very favorite conservative podcasts that I listen to. And if you have other conservative pals, other conservative buddies that have very similar values to you, and they're business owners, or they have services, or they offer products, work together, right? I was actually at a meeting one time, and it was actually a local Republican group, and they were doing their monthly meeting. I got invited in to present and be their speaker for the month. And they literally were like, we need to create kind of a network of businesses here so we can support each other's businesses and stop supporting businesses or outlets or giving our money to people that don't have values that are aligned. And you may think, well, that's an asshole move. Talk about being, closed-minded. Not really. They're trying to use their dollar to support people that value what they value. That's awesome. But it takes time and it takes energy. But end of the day, we need to say, okay, do I want to keep essentially telling Target, hey, it's okay, so that they keep making that pride section bigger and bigger and bigger with more and more shit for our kids? And then my third one. Speaking of our kids, we need to figure out what we are going to say to our kids. As mom, as a dad, what are you going to tell your kids when these things come up? Because they're going to come up. If you go to Target with your kids, I'm willing to bet you they are going to ask a question. Personally, my opinion, I don't lie. I don't lie to Haley's big enough, she knows. But Mac, I don't lie. And you may think I'm an asshole for saying this, but the other day we were sitting there and she goes, Mommy, what's gay? To be completely honest, wasn't expecting that from a 3-year-old, but I said, well, honey, it's somebody who needs God. And you know what? God tells us a husband should have a wife and a wife should have a husband. And I left it at that. I thought, to me, okay, I didn't lie. I kept it pretty basic for a 3-year-old. I didn't want to get into, why God says that or, any of that. But I was like, well, quick answer for a quick question, and I thought it was decently age appropriate. But like I said, that's my opinion. You can definitely make your own decision for what you feel is good for your family. And second component of that is keep it age appropriate. Like, don't go too deep. Don't put it way over their head just because you're kind of on your high horse or your soapbox about it. Still try to keep it as age appropriate as you can, so you don't overwhelm them, you don't confuse them, you don't make more of it than you need to. And then the third piece, if you need to, talk to your pastor, talk to a spiritual leader, talk to a spiritual mentor, consult with your Bible, right? Because this is hard. Lean on somebody that you know has solid values and is going to use the full weight of the Bible, to help you come up with your responses. All right. This has been a long one, so I'm going to wrap this up. I don't want to take more of your time today than I need to. But as we do approach Pride Month and we head into it, it's important to acknowledge that, it's been celebrated for decades. But it has become an increasingly challenging topic for us as parents because it's continuing to impact our kids more and more and more each year. Remember what I said. Think back. Romans 12:21. Do not be overcome by evil, but overcome evil with good. I want to thank you so much for listening. Share this with a fellow mom, and I will catch you in my next episode. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of Ramblings of an Addict with Jenna Dix. Remember, if you are battling an addiction, reach out for help and support. There are many resources available to assist in your journey towards recovery. Surround yourself with a supportive community and never give up on the path towards a healthier and happier life. I appreciate you taking the time to listen and joining me on this journey. As you heard, I'm always rambling. But seriously, thank you for your support and make sure to subscribe and follow my channel. I can't wait to share more with you on the next episode. Until then, keep on rambling. If you have found this podcast helpful and want to dive deeper into personal growth and self-improvement, be sure to head over to my website, bridgettms.com. You'll find a wealth of resources there. There is a little less drugs, sex, and rock and roll these days, but whether you're interested in getting healthy, information on momming or parenting, or politics, jennadix.com has something for everyone. So, what are you waiting for? Head to jennadix.com today and start your journey towards personal growth and self-awareness. See you there.